Home ownership is a luxury in many nations, and for those that can't afford to own a home, it builds wealth, and you can obtain a measure of financial independence and security. Looking at the world in which the developed countries have the highest and lowest levels of home ownership, we find the city-state of Singapore with an astounding 90+% of home ownership, followed by Bulgaria with home ownership percentages above 82%. Also high on the list are Spain, Slovenia, and Finland. Amongst the lowest of the nations are Germany, Switzerland, with rates just above 51%. And moving to the United States, it appears U.S. housing is slowing as new data points to homeowners staying in their homes longer. On average, third-quarter data shows homes have been owned for 8.2 years, which is almost twice the amount of time homes were owned back in the year 2000. At the same time, more homeowners owe more money than in the past. Here to help us understand what's going on is our friend Debbie Bloyd of DLB Financial Services, who joins us from Dallas. Debbie, great to see you. Thank you for being with us. We know you had a task getting here, but we're glad you made it. So excited to have you. What's your take on this new data? I mean, how many folks are underwater and by how much?
You know, it depends on how much personal family debt they're carrying. A lot of families are trying to put kids through college with money from their homes, so they're actually taking cash out of their homes to put those kids through college so their kids to get out of college with no debt. The other thing is we've got a lot of first-time home buyers that can't buy homes because of this point. Sometimes people are upside down because they've taken money out to pay off credit cards. We are carrying a lot of debt right now.
And why are they staying in their homes more than in the past? And how longer do they stay there?
Well, I think people are staying there longer in their homes because a lot of people bought new homes or upgraded their homes when the interest rates were down in the 3% not too long ago. They bought that with the idea of staying there. They're not going to move and give up that 3% interest rate they might have from 6 to 7 years ago. So I think we're going to find them staying there longer to protect that interest rate they got.
And are there particular places, Debbie, when you look at the metro areas and look around the country where this is sort of more prominent, where you really can't get out? I mean, the rates are going to be the same pretty much across the country, but the markets aren't the same, right?
Right, right. So a lot of markets have a lot of first-time home buyer homes. A lot of markets don't, and that's the problem. First-time home buyers are now spending $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 on their first home. My first home was $70,000, so the times have changed a lot. People are wanting better, nicer, brand new homes. They don't want to come in and gut them and fix them up like we used to. So I think their expectations are more. I think they want a nicer home than what we started at before. They've always had nice homes, and I think these interest rates are scaring them a little because they've never seen rates this high, even though we did have rates when I first got in the mortgage business at 8 and 10%, and that was considered a good rate back then.
Are you seeing in your own business, Debbie, home buyers or people that would be home buyers saying rates are getting too high for them, or are they just raising the concern but they're still going forward?
All they're concerned about is the payments. So they're going out to look at homes, and if they find a $200,000 home, we average the rates out, we put in taxes and insurance, and then they look at that payment. They're very payment-driven, not so much interest rate-driven, and they go, I can't afford that payment. Well, if you look at a cheaper home, they're not going to be happy. So they're saying, never mind, I won't buy right now. I'll wait till I save up more money to buy a home that I really want. And they're getting in these luxury apartment living kind of areas.
When we talk about new home owners, and I mean, it's crazy to think of these numbers that you're talking about, 300, 400,000 for a new home. I agree with you. It's like mind-boggling. But is there a general problem in the United States, Debbie, with entry-level buyers in today's housing climate?
They don't have a good idea of what it's like to buy a home. They've never bought a home in this kind of environment, which means they've got a debt income to worry about. I had a client fall out of looking for a home last week. She got frustrated. She said, this is so much harder than buying a car. Like, yeah, it's a home. There's debt ratios to worry about and credit. So they just don't have a good grasp of what it means to be a homeowner today. we have to help them in the mortgage business understand what that means.
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger deal than a car, isn't it? It's
a little bit, yes.
Well, that's why they need people like you to explain what it all means. I know that housing stocks dropped sharply last week, and new home sales also dropped. I think it was 5.5% in September. Are there some bright spots when you look at all these numbers for housing, either new construction, anything positive to point to, Debbie?
There is. You know, there's always a market, whether it's a good market or bad market, someone's always there to buy the houses. So when first-time home buyers aren't buying, they're becoming renters. You know what happens? Those houses that they don't buy because they can't quite afford to get in there, they end up renting them from investors. So investors are now scooping up better homes, and we're putting people in those homes. So the investor business is going to pick up as well. That's a bright spot.
That's a bright spot. That's a bright spot for you, and we're happy about that. And we're happy about the fact that you spent so much time with us today, and you made it. We know you had trouble getting to the studio, but we really appreciate your efforts. Debbie Bloyd of DLB Financial Services. Thanks a lot, Debbie. See you again.
Thank you. Thank you.